Hello, so this is going to be a how-to for fitting dynamo lights onto a bicycle. This is what I've bought. I've got some extra wire here which I'll explain in a minute. And then this is the kit. It was £5.69 off eBay. This is the rear light I've got, which is designed to bolt onto a rear mudguard. This is the front light, which has a bracket and mounts off of the fork bridge just above the wheel. This is a bottle dynamo. This will be mounted on the rear of the bike and naturally rub on the tyre. So that's quite good. Obviously, probably shouldn't grab that and move it like I just did. You might stab yourself. Then we've got the brackets. That holds the headlight on. And then that's to attach the dynamo on the rear seat stay of the bike. And that's all that comes in the box. So the reason for the extra wire is because this part bolts to here, this bolts onto the frame, and then that screw goes through the paintwork into the metal of the frame. So it would sit, that's it, like so. So if we was looking at the non-drive side of the bike, that would bolt like that off the chainstay, and then the dynamo runs on the tyre. This wire, this is where you would connect into here, these two wires to run the lights, and then the other part of the circuit would run through the frame. But because the bike's got suspension forks and a painted headset bearing, I'm going to run two separate wires because I think that'll be a lot more reliable, and also I won't have to scratch my paint because I can wrap insulation tape around the frame or an inner tube, take the screw out, throw it away, and just bolt that on, and then it won't damage the paintwork on the bike. So that's the plan. So I'll get out there and get to it, and you'll catch me when I'm there. Okay, so this is the bike I'm going to put the lights on, and I've been looking at how to fit the front light on here. The bracket's got two different holes. I had a look. If I was to slide it under the brake and bolt it on, I think it would just rub on the mudguard and on the brake cable itself, because there's not a lot of space. And then if I put it this way, it's also going to catch on the brake. So what I'm going to do is just get a hacksaw and cut this piece off. So I'll just cut it along here somewhere. And then I was looking at how to fit the rear light, which I'll just get. So that's the rear light, and I'll just mount it on there. What I'll have to do is drill two holes, because you need one for the bolt, and then you can see that little peg sticking out that the wire comes out, and then I have to drill for that as well. So what I'll do is I'll get on and do that. Okay, so this is now the front headlight bracket is fitted. That's the piece I cut off. And I cut it off, and I kept as much of the curve at the bottom as possible to try and keep it as strong as possible, and then you know, filed the kind of excess metal that was poking out. So that now works fine. I also fitted the bottle dynamo on the rear. So the way it'll work is, so I get it in shot. So you press that down, press on there, and then the motor spins round, and then that rubs on the tyre there, and then to turn it off you just pull it back and it clicks up. So that's pretty cool. And I've drilled a couple of holes there so that can bolt on. So what I'll do now is I think next will be go inside and rewire these with the 2-core wire, and yeah, I'll show you that now. Okay, so I've brought the lights inside. I've got the new wire. I'm not sure exactly how this is going to work yet, but we'll just go for it and see how it works out. So first things first, I'm going to undo the cover, which is just twist. That takes that off. Then we get to the bulb, and if we unscrew the bulb, then you can see the wire feeds in here, goes down inside there. See, I just pulled it out, and then when the bulb screws in, it makes a connection. So what I do is I'll grab this. I already stripped it, and I shall bend that, tuck it down inside. Try and keep it neat. What you want to do is you want to make sure that this wire doesn't touch the metal inside here, You only want it to touch the side of the bulb, not the bottom, because you'll end up short circuiting it. So let's get my bulb. I can just screw that back in. Oh, it's actually much tighter than before. Okay, I think this wire is a little bit thicker than the original wire. I think what I'll do, trim it down a fraction. And then I'll kind of splay it out a little bit, spread it around the thread. See if that makes it screwing a bit easier. What I'll do is when we go outside, I'll show you another bike. I'll put dynamo lights on where I wired it up traditionally. Oh, there we go, it screws in now. Much better, much better. So it's secure. And yeah, I'll show you how to do it, or how I did it with running the current through the bike. And if you do that, you don't have to do what I'm doing right here, which is handy. So that's pushed down in there nice, it's quite good. So that can pop back on. Is it directional? Not sure. Well, that seems to have worked. So that is cool. And then what we'll do is we'll put a crimp on here, and then when that's bolted into the bracket, that'll get bolted on there. So you just want to watch the polarity. So I've put the wire with the white stripe into the bulb, and then I'll do the same on here. Just in case it ever does find an earth, you know, or ground rather, probably the better term, then, you know, I know it won't be an issue. So let's move on to this. So we're going to have to get inside again. Okay, that's nice. It's got a little terminal here. So I think what I'll do is cut the video. I'll go and get the terminal and come back. I just had a thought. Before I run out and get the terminal I'm going to use on this screw, what I figured I would do is the wire is going to need to come out, and it's a thicker wire. So what I think I'll do is there's this notch here, that big gap there, which I don't have any use for. So what I think I'll do is drill through the plastic into that gap, and then that can be where the wire comes out. So what I'll do is I'll go and drill that and then come back, and you know, we can wire this one up as well. Okay, so I'm back. This is now drilled. You can see I've put the hole there, and I aimed it down from the top so that there's less chance of water getting inside. So yeah, what we do now, I think, remove this nut and washer off the back, because that's going to be in the way of undoing that screw. As you can see, there's a nut in there. Then if you undo the bulb, pull out the wire like last time, you can undo this knot, pull the wire out of there, boom, insert this through here, maybe that could have done with a slightly bigger hole, but let's see if I can get it to go through. Nope, I've got to drill it out a little bit bigger. Here we go, that's the joys of doing things, working out as you go. Back in a sec. And here we are, back with now a bigger hole that the wire is actually going to fit through, I think. Let's stuff that through. Lovely, look at that. Right, and we'll do the same thing it had before, which is we'll put a knot in it, because I think that would just make it much better so it can't pull through. Hopefully it's all going to fit inside this lens. Should do, I hope. Sorted. Nice, right. I think next is, as we remember on this one, it was the wire with the white stripe that I put to the into the screw of the bulb. So same again. Get that wire there. Put a bend in it, stuff it down, and then we can screw in the bulb. nice. Now, if we get a screwdriver, already took the other nut off. Now we can undo this. Oh, the whole thing comes out. Okay. Now, what I'd think I'd do then, leave that for a second, and we'll fit the crimp on here. So if I do that, fold it over, poke it in there, and crimp it up. And I'll make sure I pick up the bits I just dropped. And what I think I'll do is I'll stuff that in one of these and just squeeze it a bit more. That's it, that's really locked on there now, so that's not going to fall off. Right, so as we noticed, the nut did drop out the back, so I can lift this out, put the bolt through there, poke it back through. And that's cool. So now spin it over, holding it all together, keeping it in place. Spin the nut down as far as I can, make sure it locates in that slot, and then do up the screw. Now we can put the lens cover back on. And put the screw in. Surprisingly fiddly. There we go. Ignoring the bit of fluff. So I'll just put these back on here for the moment. And then what I'll do is take these outside, out of shot. I'll just put a crimp on here. So strip this, put another crimp on, and then that will get bolted to there, which I'll show you in a minute. So I'll get these installed. I mean, this is very easy. So I'm going to poke that, take the nut off, poke that through the mudguard, those two pegs, you know, put the nut and washer on, boom, and bolt that onto the bracket, and yeah, you'll see that done in a second. Okay, so I've screwed the lights on now. So I use the same crimp as I used on the other wire, but I pulled the little red cover off, just so it looks a little bit more discreet. And then I've cable tied the wire onto the bracket there, and then it runs up. I've checked there's enough slack on it, and then it runs round. I've clipped it onto the cable, tied it onto the brake cable, and it runs along, another cable tie onto the frame, and then just travels down over to here. As you can see, I've tried to make it as discreet as possible, and that's the end of it there, which needs to go up to the dynamo. And I've also fitted the rear light and run the wire along there and up to the dynamo. So what I'll do now is connect it up, and to explain the wiring, the wire with the white stripe from both lights, if you remember, we connected that to the screw where the bulb screwed in. The white wire goes to here, and the black wire I'm going to put onto this bolt here with another crimp connector. So I'll just trim these up, hook it up, and yeah, show you that, and then I think I'll set the camera up if I can and show you it working. Cool. Okay, so it's all hooked up now. See, I've got the little crimp heat shrink together, and then behind here is the wire, and I just put a little heat shrink there as well to keep it together. So that's done. And yeah, it might not be everyone's cup of tea. I mean, these cheap dynamo lights, they only come on while you're pedaling, so the moment you stop they go off. And you know, you have to have wires running everywhere, and they're a bit of a faff to fit. But I like them because they're like fit and forget. You never have to worry about batteries, and you've always got lights. If you don't have a set of mudguards on your bike, you can get lights that come with a little lamp like this. It's more of a vintage style, but you know, it doesn't have to go on a rear mudguard. And this is the headlight that came with it. It was quite cool, and same again, you just, you know, put a bottle dynamo here. This is the one that came with it. That was a better one that I had. And this one I actually did screw into the frame and only run one wire. I just wrapped it round. And then here, just in case anyone's got a bike like this, where I think where these are painted and they're new, the electricity wouldn't travel through. So I just put the wire here, pinched it with this bolt, and then bolted it there. I didn't bother using crimps on this, but you know, it works fine. So, you know, crimps are optional really. Same with on the other bike, you can just, you know, put the wire around the screw, do it up, and just make sure it doesn't break the strands. But yeah, so that's another way of doing it if you don't have mud guards.